A poem, friends, that I wrote recently. Even grows the hour. Even grows the hour, even as the world below feels uneven. Autumn and fall in the falling apart, breathing leaves to the ground, the art of empty things. My God, or my gods, or my empty sky of every name, teach us to slow down. Remind us that our worth is not measured in sense, change, but in harnessing our senses to send love to a neighbor, to catch grace like a firefly. The capacity to feel our being held in the arms of another, go round this earth with a sound not of thundering bells or war machines, but wind chimes. Souls holding hands in a bread line, bring the mind's eye to the wild friends that do not haste away the day in pursuit of property or some high-ended reward won by counting the creases in your hands. Let us know the obvious secret carried by those kinfolks of fur and fin and feather who wrestle only with the swelling breath of everything. And know them not as inferiors, objects, but cousins, kindred, fellow travelers. Where are we going together? The fire burns anew, leaving light on the water. The wisdom of the West whispers again, have you any stories? Here comes the time of telling. Here comes the time of taking stock, the time of sharing, the time of receiving. Here comes the time of drifting down to the earth to lose the little loss of winter, to prepare the heart in dark places, yes. To be born again comes spring, as above, so below. As we know, may we believe, and so on and on to eternity. Amen, and blessed be. Religious pluralism is truly beautiful. Soul sharing community while celebrating our differences. Surely, whatever the sacred is alive in such places where our stories mingle, where new things might arise from the interweavings of our lives, or at least common connections. As Mark Morrison Reed has said, at which I have read that quote many times from here, the central task of the religious community is to unveil the bonds that bind each to all. And so it can be a challenge often to speak to religious pluralism, especially when there are holidays that crisscross and line up over one another. You don't want to muddy the waters too much to suggest that things are just correlated and similar, because that is disrespectful to traditions and is not always true. But I do believe it is worthy to lift up the lines that do seem to connect across traditions, across wide stretches of time and wide spaces on the earth. And today we do lift up Mabon, but as Ashley mentioned, we also lift up Rosh Hashanah. And I've been challenged by some of our parishioners too. Granted, I'm from East Tennessee, where it is just a Protestant, various kinds of Pentecostal, Presbyterian, Methodist, Baptist, that's the world I come from. And so I've been challenged to expand my horizons of religious diversity, because Omaha is quite a bit more diverse than where I'm from, which has been really, really cool to see. But between Mabon and Rosh Hashanah, between this high holy day of Judaism and this aspect of the pagan wheel of the year, Mabon also being referred to as Modron and Welsh Reconstructionist, Alban Elfed, the light on the water to my fellow practitioners of Druidry, or just the Autumn Equinox for those of us who would like to dispense with the highbrow language. That's also fine. Nonetheless, this time is often considered a time for taking stock, right? Slowing down. Gratitude. This is the time in this country, not this time in particular, but in this season, when we look to things like Thanksgiving. Complicated, perhaps problematic, that central aspect of gratitude being present nonetheless. That is very much alive in Mabon. And as Rosh Hashanah encourages us to look inward, to reflect, to see where in our life, where in our year, atonement might be called for. With Mabon's emphasis on looking back, having community, seeking gratitude. I wonder, friends, how one can atone without a heart open to gratitude. For what can one say, whether it is mouthed in the voice or just felt in the heart, but a thank you when a grace has been extended? Grace being a word that often is related to Christian theology, this thing you are given that you don't necessarily deserve, or maybe you don't feel like you deserve, a gift, right? The raw stuff of grace. In a time when we're marking abundance, when we're counting the stores and the stocks, when the world itself is slowing down. Well, gratitude is a very human phenomenon, and I hesitate to project that onto things like squirrels and bears, but I do wonder how the squirrel feels going into its burrow full of acorns, hopefully not being raided by another squirrel. Squirrels can be downright vicious, y'all. They steal from each other all the time. Oh, don't we do that sometimes too? Maybe squirrels should seek atonement. But in that frantic stealing and hiding of things, something wonderful happens that I think an outside observer may seek gratitude for, because much of a forest's new trees are made when squirrels burrow acorns and nuts and then forget where they're buried. I can relate to forgetting things, right? I'm sure we all can. But in that forgetting, what happens? The forest grows. New opportunities for life to take root come about from a squirrel's absent-mindedness. I'm reminded of that Michel Foucault quote: "We don't know what we do. We might know why we do what we do. We might know what." Okay, hold on a second. He's French. People often know what they do. They might even know why they do what they do, but seldom do people know what they do does. Certainly, this can be applied to squirrels too. In that not knowing, it is worthy to take time, especially when the world is hollering at us with these shortened days, these cooler moments, this slowing down of the ecologies, to look inward, right? As our friends in the Jewish tradition call us to do, in their tradition, as Mabon calls us to do, but as the whole world seems to sing to us to slow down and to look inward, to take stock of what we do might be doing. Truly, in the places in which we might need to seek atonement for what we have done, maybe inadvertently, absent-mindedly, because, true, our intentions matter, but impact must matter more. Impact must have more gravitas than simple intention. What has what we have done in the broader scope of the world, the rippling effects of our actions? The nuts we have lost, have they made a forest? Did we inadvertently rob them from another friend? Atonement. Saying I'm sorry is no small thing for so many people. But what can often be harder is accepting forgiveness. Because to accept forgiveness, one must reckon with the soft parts of one's heart, the places in which we are changed. Because forgiveness doesn't mean a fresh start. We never really start over, do we? Not at the beginning of things. We start over in the middle, made up of what we are. And the idea of forgiveness, and the idea of gratitude must be related. For if one is to be forgiven, and to be able to accept that grace, it must be with the recognition that I am being forgiven as I am, with all that I am, with all my brokenness and all my cracks and flaws, all my wandering mind, my losing nuts in the woods. Oh my God, all that hurts too can be named worthy still, can be named redeemable, worthy of atonement. For such a thing to be offered, for such a thing to even be sought, I believe, must speak of a need for a deep, deep gratitude. And gratitude is no simple, small thing, friends. It's not some idle, feel-good, warm fuzzies kind of thing. It is a potential source around much of what plagues our times, isolation and loneliness, the idea that I might not be liked or I might not be worthy. If we can center some of our gratitude, we might see that we've already arrived. We are already there. We are already and have always been worthy. Worthy of love, worthy of forgiveness. Even if forgiveness is not ours to receive just yet, because people might still be hurt, nonetheless, we remain worthy of it, because we all contain within us something that the earth knows, capacity to change, to transform, to be made new, but not new altogether, to change, chart a new course, one that brings us closer together. Gratitude as a shining star for us to follow together. Arm in arm, side by side, however we get there. This is how we move towards beloved community, to that broader table where all can be welcome, where all of the flaws on the edifice of our lives, all in the deep places that hurt, all of it might be named worthy. And I don't know what heaven is, but if it exists at all, I reckon it must be something like that, a place where all that we are can be welcome. May it be so, and may we be in the work of making such a thing happen here, in this church, in Omaha, in this world. All it takes is one seed, friends, planted. There is a time for all things, correct? There's a time for all things.